on the script. It's on the script.
Prediction?
Yes, prediction.
Pain.
We run the clock. Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop.
You're adding this guy.
Just another go dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16. Serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, it's the show of your dreams.
Ain't no bias. Chris Zorich breaking truth. Traded in the golden helmet in the past for a suit. With the tape, never lie. College ball, he's a stoop. Breaking the top 16, not the top 32.
I don't mean to cut you off like a Zorich jersey, but you ain't really grinding unless the jersey dirty. Hit the running back like a Mack truck behind the 30-yard line. It's game time. My team riding off the sideline.
You look at Chris like this with a fact checklist, going over college teams like a big scientist. Steve streaking from his head like in his playing days. Super 16 polls on the show straight away.
It's the FBS, the best of the best from the ACC to the SEC. Pac-12, Big 10, Mountain West, Sun Belt, and the Big 12. Open your eyelids, who the best like the clock. Super 16 is the cream of the crop. College football time of year, don't stop. With Christopher Zorich, just another go dome with the courage, heart, skill, and will. Bringing you the best 16. Serving up a plate for the football fiends. Breaking the best 16 college teams. Football fans, it's the show of your dreams.
Enjoying your cocktail there, buddy, huh? Welcome, everyone, to the Super 16 Bowl Show Part 2. Not last week, but a couple weeks ago, we talked about some of the bowl games that were coming up. This show, we're going to give you a little preview of the national championship game, talk about the bowl games that happened, the bowl games that are going on right now, which we can't show because we'll get thrown in jail. There were some exciting bowl games on today. We're going to cover the Notre Dame, South Carolina win. And I say that with like air quotes. A win? Was it really a win? Yes, it was a win. But they may have a lot to work on for next year. Well, thank you very much, Phil. We're also going to cover some of the hot topics that happened during the year. Once again, it was an amazing, awesome year. We're going to talk about some bowl games. We're going to talk about a whole bunch of stuff going on. But first, I'd like to thank the National Football Foundation for allowing us to do this, and also the Football Writers Association of America, which I'm a part of now because I'm just that cool, right? So now I'm part of the media, and I say air quotes again because I can't stand them. However, I do have a chance to vote in some of the cool postseason awards that are given out. So, for example, I had a chance to vote for a couple of the coaches of the years, had a chance to vote on a couple of awards. So this has just been an awesome year, and we can get started, get rolling. There you go. Okay, so now, like, obviously, y'all don't know that I don't get like a notice that he's gonna just throw some stuff in there. So I was about to try to do this really cool intro with my boy, but apparently he just wants to show footage of me making fun of me. So thank you very much, Dr. Phil. So, Phil, would you like to jump in?
There he is. Happy New Year.
Happy New Year, sir. How are you?
I'm doing good, man.
That's
hanging
very
in
good
there.
to hear.
Glad to be back with you.
That's awesome. I missed you.
My
How about those
childhood
Bears?
hero.
How about those Bears?
Oh, I don't know, Chris. I'll hand it over to you. Your thoughts on the tank session that has become General Schwarzkopf had less tank than the Chicago Bears.
That's impressive. Wow, I didn't know you were that old. Okay, you remember General Schwarzkopf.
The only General Patton that would really be old, right?
Okay, all right. That's kind of my era, but okay.
General Holtz is
there
what
you
remember.
There you go. Well, I mean, I'm just surprised that they're actually still playing him. I would assume that you need to start kind of saving him, and I think I heard a quote that Eberflus said that he wants him to have game experience or something like that.
Dude,
because he
that was
hasn't had game experience before?
That was coaching malpractice on Sunday. It really was. I said it on BHL. You know, I don't care what side of the room, if you're standing on that side of the room and, oh, don't worry, they're losing to get better. I get both. Like, I'm built different. Like, I think me and you are built the same. Like, you do not go into any game worrying about draft select. That's for fucking fantasy players and guys. That's just a losing culture. So, but that being said, you know, there's an argument that the Bears have been playing tough and that they've been in all these games. But this past weekend, you could just tell there was complete travesty of preparation, effort, understanding. I think we got a Holiday Bowl show. There you go. I just saw it getting so bad that now you're putting the thing you're hanging your hat on in this lost season is number one.
Right.
So if you're totally not doing what you need to do, you're setting yourself up to now have to do something like get another quarterback because you're going to end up hurting this guy. And that's what it felt like after the half. After he ran toss, I don't know if you saw that, where Cole Kmet got under center. And
right. Yep. I saw that one.
So he gets tackled a certain way, and you could see that his leg was underneath him awkwardly. He gets up limping, but that's par for the course for the guy. No, a coach and a GM can't be questioning reps and toughness now. Reps, he's had plenty of reps. We know the issues he got to work on. Toughness is not a concern, and you're not going to convince all of the naysayers anyway in a 3-win football season. So at that point, I just felt like it was such a detriment for the organization to continue to thrust him out there. And I equated it to a boxer. Like, you in the corner have to have him in your best interest. You throw in the towel. A boxer is going to tell you, I can keep going, Mick.
Right.
Hit the one in the middle, Justin.
Right. Exactly.
That you have to protect them from that. And, apparently I was trying to watch the presser. I went to see the Avatar. So I was in the theater for a while. When Eberflus spoke. Yeah, it was amazing. But I wanted to say that Ivan, our producer on the network, had mentioned in a text that Eberflus kind of has changed because he stood his ground. Oh, Justin's playing for the reps. No matter what, we're going with but apparently he kind of changed his tune today. So I don't have the exact quote of what was said, but listen, I've talked to media people, former players, coaches, my father coaching. Everybody seems to be, that was the biggest malpractice that you've seen. If anyone was questioning, Phil, you and your red flag, I'm not ever said, and I don't think you have said, fire Eberflus, do the Daniel Hackett thing. No one has said that here. But I've talked about the red flags, right? So I put a bunch of red flags of personnel, situational, coming out. He still did it, Chris. I've never been around a coach that comes out glass half full. Like, football is not yoga. So your yoga instructors, you're really getting better at it. Keep going. Of course, right? This coach comes out, yoga Eberflus. We really look good in the first half. That first drive. No one cares. They want to hear accountability that you're preaching. Well, Phil, he could be one way to the press and another. That don't work. You start hearing players tune you out.
Right.
Got to be the same guy here as you are in the locker room. Then the respect level will be. Oh, but some of the everybody loved Matt Nagy too. He never lost the locker room, but he lost a lot of games and he lost his job. That's the course. And this was the biggest red flag, was the Justin Fields explosion that could have happened. And it's like you're playing with fire now. Are you going to run him out there? When they ever ran QB power at the goal line after he's limping, I'm like, this is like coaching against the JV coach. Like,
well, I remember I sent you a text.
Yeah.
And it was when he got he got hit one way and something came over the top. And I just knew, and they were like, they quickly cut to like something else.
Yeah.
And I knew, and I think I said to text the dude, that one's going to hurt. And of course, the next play, they put him in the tent, right? And then I think maybe a couple plays.
The tent going
right,
over him.
Even the
broadcaster
there like,
was
God damn.
He didn't walk to the tent. They brought the tent to him and shoved it over him.
Well, and then there was another play where, I mean, he ran out, or somebody tackled him or whatever, and ran out of bounds, and he was kind of leaning on something. And he was kind of leaning, and you saw the look in his face. And it wasn't like, hey, this game's ridiculous. He was just like, damn, here we go again, right? And it wasn't like a negative look that he had. It was, you just saw the exhaustion of like the whole year in his face, like, damn,
dude,
like you think I can get like a little respite for like 3 seconds before I have to go back in? I mean, it was crazy. Great
artistry there by you, because that play, I was waiting to pull it.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Play it. No, it's fine. I wanted to play it on Wednesday. To be the best player on the field, surrounded by coaching, play calls, and personnel that aren't up to par, aren't on the same page, and you're doing everything humanly possible to win. You just sit. That was that moment where you're like, I can't win for trying. Like, what am I going to? Johnny, Keith, Eric, all these fans are going to be critical of my 7 yards passing or whatever it is his stats were. And I'm just trying so hard to get us W's. So he's the only thing that I don't have a question about on this football team. Everything else starts with the GM. Now, the GM is going to define who he is this season, this offseason. We can't rewrite history. People are doing that now. Oh, I knew. The only guy that knew was Kaplan. I'll give him credit for it. Right? But you're trading all these pieces out. You're building for the future, getting rid of players, whatever, to set your culture up. So this first year is going to be 3 and whatever, right? 3 and 14, whatever it is. And next year, you're going to have all this cap, all the draft, high draft pick. Maybe he trades down, gets more. We're going to see how he does it. But I can't put any negativity really on polls yet. I mean, there's certain things we can be critical of him and how he set up the offensive line and that kind of stuff. But right now, his story is Eberflus. Mm-hmm. So where I could be critical of him is that I have a lot of red flags. And you and I have talked about it on this show. The Bears hiring guys learning to be a head coach. It's been a travesty. And when you throw John Fox in there, because Mike Ditka was a special teams coach. Yeah. Okay, so you can't use him. The only guy that was a coach was John Fox.
Yeah.
And they're going to argue the Canadian Football League, Mark Trestman. He was not in the NFL. It's a different beast.
I mean, but that's the thing. Fine, throw him in there. Okay, so there's 2 head coaches y'all hired since like before Mike Ditka, right? So here's an example. You want to talk about storied franchises, and I think you and I have talked about this because you're gonna know the answer. How many head coaches do you think the Pittsburgh Steelers have had since 1969?
3.
So I'm 53. I was born in 1969.
Right.
They've had 3 goddamn coaches.
It's crazy.
In 53 years.
Crazy.
I mean, you can't. I don't want to think about like how many coaches the Bears have had during that time, right? But the idea would be, do we even know what the hell we're doing, basically, right? I mean, for the last 53 years, you have an unbelievable franchise that has had 3 head coaches. I mean,
and the thing is, I would have Mike Tomlin as my coach every day. That's how I want my coach to be. He's the example. And when people tell me, Phil, the presser doesn't mean anything, go look at Mike Tomlin and how he handles a presser. He owns, this is going to be fixed. Ben's got to be better.
There you go.
Whoever. Mitch has got to be better. If you're so soft that your name gets put out there, it gets put out there in the locker room, it gets put out there on film, guess what? This isn't college. This isn't high school. This is the job. This is the NFL. So as a coach, Eberflus should be taking notes. Like, be who you are, not asking you to change. Just be more direct. Own it on you. You don't start with the positives. You let everybody know losing is a disease. And I'll tell you right now, people hate this, but it's my truth. Like, that would never fly. That would never fly. That would never fly for me.
Well, and here we're talking about assistant coaches, right? And obviously some organizations get them, right? I mean, Mike Tomlin, he was an assistant coach. He wasn't a head coach before he got there. So there are teams that know what the hell they're doing. Maybe they want to hire an assistant coach, and that's fine. But one other thing I want to talk about was with this idea of kind of what you're talking about with Poles, right? I mean, he's a young kid. I'm sorry, not a young kid, but this is his first time being a GM. Again, having to go get somebody on the cheap, you aren't going to go hire the baddest GM in the league. You're going to go hire some dude who's just, okay, that's fine. If you want to do that, that's fine. I'm hoping his mentors, I'm hoping the people that he can reach out to, I'm hoping he's getting great advice because he's accumulated all of this wealth in all these draft picks, all this money he's going to have. I hope who are his mentors? Is he getting advice from somebody? Is he seeking advice? Or is this first-time GM?
You want to know, what he should do, Chris? And I'll break it on your show. He should fire Luke Getsy right after the season. Luke has been terminated or is moving to quarterback coach, and I'm going to hire the guy who hired me and Frank Reich to take over our offense. Now you have a former head coach, quality coach. I don't know what happened with the Colts, but I believe in Frank Reich, the teacher, the motivator. He doesn't have to be they don't have to be a rah-rah guy, but you got to be an honest guy. You got to have the integrity of the meat to understand that the fan base needs to know there's a direction. At 3 wins, 9 losses straight, tying the record in franchise history. Nobody wants to hear how good.
I thought we were bad. I thought
no.
Really?
They're 1 loss away from breaking the franchise losing streak.
Oh my God. Because I remember Wannstedt had a couple 4-12 seasons, but
yeah, this is bad, Chris. And I just don't think you come out talking about how good your kicker played today prior to answering any. It's a joke. And he needs that. He needs somebody. And the offensive coordinator, situational football. I always talk about Jim Harbaugh. We're going to get into it. Jim shocked me by getting crazy at the goal line. Like, you went away from who you are. You can't do it. You can't do it. You got to be the maniacal, this is who we are, timeout in a critical situation, and it's your job as the head coach. We're going for it here. And you talk to the linemen and say, this is on you. David's getting the fucking ball. Let's get one. That's motivation. Those guys are the difference. The coaches that are like that. You know, there's talent everywhere in this league. Everywhere.
Mm-hmm.
There's talent. They're finding out. It's the guys that get that 10% out of them that are just understanding that we're going to run our scheme. We're going to have an answer for it. You know, I'm lucky that I was raised by some of the, I was around the great coaches. I understand it. And I keep seeing the same errors by the Chicago Bears to what you said. Taking a chance on a guy that has never been a head coach. Now, with that being said, these are just red flags. We'll see. I already know that I don't do half full, half empty. I just know that I have some deep concerns about Eberflus, the head coach. And we'll see. Now, if he goes out there and Justin Fields is starting against the Vikings, taking a beat, and people are looking around, don't know their assignments, they don't know where to pass pro. Oh, it's because they're in meeting. That's their job. These mistakes are in week 17, 16, 17, whatever week we're in, Cherie. I have no idea anymore. All I keep seeing is another loss. Now, that's where I am, Chris. I said a lot, and even being around it like you were, I got to peek behind the curtain, and behind the curtain doesn't lie. Like the tape, there's a lot of bureaucracy, and there has to be now, maybe the Bears are hiring a president that actually understands football.
Let's hope.
That's the hope. Because I'll tell you right now, the owner and the president now, Ted Phillips, every nerd used to fight Shane and I. You guys don't know. Ted has nothing to do with football. Oh, Ted has everything. He's deciding who the coach is, who the GM is, who the scouts are, we're not trading. We can't. Let me look at my numbers here. We're not trading for LaDainian Tomlinson. We can't do this. Yes, we could pay Khalil Mack. Yes, we'll play whoever, Julius Peppers. He's involved in. He's making football. He should have no place. None. He's an accountant to the family. He should be turbo taxed out of town. That's it. Now you need someone in there helping to alleviate.
Hopefully, right? But we'll historically, and again, I'm almost like a broken record, but have we? I think, like outside of Jim Finks, who people said was great.
Yes.
But the idea that, why not go out and get the best president in the league, right? Go out and just pay him $500,000, $1 million more than what he's getting paid, right? Exactly. You're gonna jump for $1 million, why not, right? But
exactly.
But historically, unfortunately, right, we're gonna see who they hire, but historically they've shown me who they are. They hire a first-time GM the same year they hire a first-time head coach. Look, I'm not a brain surgeon, but that's probably not the best idea to do. But outside of that, for a while they didn't have a GM.
Yeah, they didn't.
So but they kept hiring assistant coaches. So I'm hoping they hire a football guy or a person, but I'm a little nervous.
We are, Chris.
I am a little nervous. However, college football is ending, unfortunately, and we are seeing some amazing, amazing games during this bowl season.
Absolutely.
We had a chance to see some upsets and stuff like that. So how was that transition? Was that good?
That was good.
Okay.
Let's bring it to college football where, bowl season, my son, it's crazy because you're trying to explain to an 8-year-old, well, what's bowl? Why do they play those games? But there's a playoff to play the championship. Why? So
No, hey man, that's exactly what a lot of. Hey man, he's a smart kid. That's what everybody's asking. What the hell?
So I had to try to explain that it's almost like celebrating a season where you were able to accomplish enough to get yourself and celebrate the team to face off another team and get away from school and everything like that. It's like a reward. And then the best of the best go up and play for the national championship. So,
and then he was tugging at your shirt and said, "Daddy, so being average is good. So being 6-6 is good, and even being 5-7 is good. Daddy, that's good." You need to pull him aside and say, "Son,
I didn't.
It's all about the money because there's 43 goddamn bowl games."
Yes.
Oh my god. But
it cluttered up your thumbnail like you wouldn't believe.
Here's the problem, though, right? So I am all for bowl games. Okay, I think that you need to be rewarded for having success, right? And I think the opportunity for a lot of these kids who are in college and they have a chance to go to someplace different sometimes you have a chance again to be rewarded after the season. I'm not even talking about the coaches, what the coaches will say, "Oh, I went to all these bowl games and blah blah blah." So that's my first part. So I am a bowl game fan, but we need to do something about the number, right? Because right now at 43 bowl games, I'm not that smart, but that means you're going to have 86 teams
to
play
good.
in these 46. Hey, man, I'm with Notre Dame twice. And you have 86 teams, but then all 86 aren't 6-6. So even this year, I think they had to take 3 or 4 teams that were 5-7. Right? So unfortunately, my solution, and this is going to sound bad because I just, one side I just said, "Hey, man, I love bowl games," but you're going to have to cut down the number of bowl games. So maybe the people who are sponsoring the lower end bowls can jump on with the big boys, or maybe 2 small bowls can get together. They could work something out because, like, honestly, it's like degrading college football for me. Because when your son tugs on your shirt and says, "Daddy, 6-6 is good because you just said that they're being rewarded, so that's great, right?" And you're like, "Hell no," because that 6-6 is bullshit. 6-6 means you're just average,
right?
And now they're taking 5-7 teams, which means they're below average. So this is not. I mean, I'm obviously being facetious. We're talking about with your kid, but the idea would be to have some of these bowl presenters kind of get together because, I mean, you saw them like the first 10, 20 bowl games, no one was there except the parents and the kids.
Right.
And, being an athletic director and working at Notre Dame in the athletic department, I've seen how expensive these bowl games are. So oftentimes teams have to go into debt in order to go to these small bowl games because these are the smaller teams.
It also comes into what you're saying, where the bowl sponsors are looking for fan bases that are going to travel. Oh, they travel well, like Wisconsin. Let's put them in a bowl when they don't deserve it. That becomes a cherry picking process too. That isn't fair. But to your point, I agree with you. I think there's too many bowls. I think you can cut it down, and I like the idea of combining some of the Weed Eater and Home Depot present the whatever bowl.
Well, because at the end of the day, that's really what's kind of motivating these bowls, right? Because if you have, I mean, there's a town here in the western suburbs called Elmhurst. And I want to say a couple years ago, the Chamber of Commerce of Elmhurst, they were the sponsor of the Bahamas Bowl. Like, okay, again, that's fine, but however X amount of millions of dollars they had to put up for that, they could have just said, hey, you know what, let's move this money over to this larger bowl, and then you become like co-sponsors or something, because the Bahamas Bowl, none of those kids were coming to And those families weren't coming to the Bahamas to see their kids play. If so, maybe a handful. I mean, no fans are going to watch. I mean, it's hard for me to digest. And again, I'm talking from both sides, right? So, I mean, I see it as a staff, as an administrator, I understand it. But at the end of the day, we are degrading the sport because at 6-6, we're rewarding these teams and actually playing. And then, like I said before, there's teams that are 5-7 that are awarded to go to bowl games. And that's just not fair.
I love it. I totally agree with you on that level. And it's hard because you think a bowl, the Super Bowl takes precedence, right? It's like the best of the best. So I like what Ben was saying, and I think
I didn't see what Ben said. What did Ben say?
I'll put it up there for you, Cherie. There you go. With playoffs going to 12 teams, seems like these bowl games are going to be obsolete and lost their meaning as compared to back in the 60s, 70s, 80s when they.
But this is the same thing they said, right? But Ben, this is the same thing they said about the college football playoff system we have now. They said that, hey, we're going to start going playoffs. Those bowls aren't going to matter. However, they figured out a way to get the New Year's Six bowls in there. So we're going to rotate. So everybody's going to be happy. 1 year it'll be you, next year it'll be me.
Yeah.
But I still think they're going to have the lower bowls. Now, again, I mean, it's the idea of rewarding a team. So maybe, and again, this is going to be bad, but I say, man, 8-4, get your ass in a bowl game. Not even 7-5.
Yes. I think the way of the bowl is going to go. I really do. I think it's especially with the 12, then you become the 6 top bowl games.
Sure. Yep.
And that's where you go. And you kind of incorporate some of what you're saying, where you triple book it, and you go from there. What are the peach, sugar, rose, fiesta? What else?
Cotton.
Mm-hmm. The guys that have been there as a staple that now just have a sponsor. So it's the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl. Now It's the Tostitos Pepsi, Budweiser, Fiesta Bowl.
Possibly, but I mean, I hear what you're saying, but I don't want to only have 12 games. I mean, it's going to be hard for these kind of teams that, again, now you're going to see I'm amazed because now I'm caring about the group of 5 folks and not the power 5 folks because I'm always shitting on the group of 5 guys. But
you have to cut somewhere.
Which okay, so yeah, right. So 43. Let's make it 20 or 25, right? So now you got 50 teams that are playing instead of like 110 or whatever that number is.
Yeah, 41 bowl games.
43, but that's okay.
Cherie said 41. I was going with the producer, so
that's okay. Well, all right. So I'm gonna count them. I'm just kidding. So talking about these bowls, so the first bowl was the Bahamas Bowl, which we had a chance to see like 500 years ago. I think that was like a month ago or something like that. I mean, do you remember when that was?
Was it like December 16th?
Yes, it
Friday,
was.
December 16th.
Correct. So it was crazy because I think the teams only had about 8 days to prepare for them or something like that. It was totally crazy. But I mean, again, you're having teams like a MAC team and a Conference USA team. That's great, right? So, but if the product isn't there, then you're just watching just to kind of fill space, which I think is unfortunate.
Yeah. I mean, you look at some of them, UAB, Miami of Ohio, then you had the Cure Bowl. I don't know if you even watched that. I know Cherie did. Troy.
I did not watch it, right? She was like one of the only 8 people to watch it, but that's awesome, right? I would too if I went to
Texas, San Antonio. Then that Saturday, you had Louisville in Fenway Park beating up on Cincinnati.
Which was kind of interesting because the head coach of Louisville bounced from Cincinnati. So, I mean, did he take some of his guys? I mean, it was just crazy, man. So
that's the other thing that has to go into the argument. Maybe we got to cut these bowls down. Kids going into the portal can't play. You've practiced all season to get to a bowl. Mm-hmm. Now your kids have left for the NFL, or they're hiding out. I'm just going to take my act to the NFL. I'm not playing in the bowl game. And then that affects you. Absolutely. So if there's something to play for, then these kids are going to stay to play in a playoff.
But then because I had this on my list to talk about, but then you have this amazing Alabama culture factor, right? So I was dumbfounded when I heard that both Anderson and Young were going to play in the bowl game that Alabama was playing against Kansas State in the, what the hell bowl they play in the Sugar Bowl, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm thinking definitely Alabama program, these guys are gone. You had Bryce Young talking about like a culture, talking about, well, if I ask my teammates to play hard to win games, why would I opt out? The hell? This is a team that you think you know these guys are going to bounce. You know these guys are gone. But then you look at that culture, and then I look at Notre Dame, my school. You get guys bouncing. Oh no, I'm out. Hey, I got to go pro, and then they're on the damn sideline. Like, yeah,
we saw it last year with Pickett. Remember me and you with Pitt, and he's watching. He's on the headset, but it just didn't sit right. Like, why aren't you just playing the game? Set the tone. I get it. And we talked about you did a great job the last show we had talking about the insurance policies. Mm-hmm. Like they can't cover, the kind of money that they are possibly wanting to, get. So there's something to be said. But back in the day, you didn't see any of this shit.
Right. And I don't know, and I guarantee, and I don't know because I'm not there, but I'm pretty sure Saban didn't pull these guys aside and force them to play. Okay, these are now grown-ass men. They don't have to listen to him anymore.
Yeah.
Okay, these guys, because of the culture, because of the environment that happens when you walk in that locker room door at Alabama, this is what's expected of you.
Well, Bryce Young and him solidify themselves just to a GM. Do you have to question the love of the game for either of those guys? No.
Come on.
So now, if
imagine
Bryce Young decides not to throw at the combine, I'm fine with it because you've proven to me that when it matters most, you were out there playing for your team. And that's what a GM in the NFL should be. That should be priority number one to get in the door.
But instead, they're measuring the distance between your pinky and your thumb because that's going to tell you how many games you're going to win.
It's just crazy.
Well, and it's unfortunate because you see this as an example. And again, I was shocked, right? Because I fell into this culture of, well, hey, you got to go make your money. You might get injured. But the idea that you have a team like Alabama, who we've all criticized and said, it's a football factor, also blah, 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 blah. Then you realize that there's something special in that locker room, man. Like people in that locker room, they're proud to be from Alabama. They're proud. Guys saying, you know what? Yes, but if I tell my teammates that they got to work hard, we have a goal that we're trying to set, and I bounce, like what does that make me? And so I think this is something that we're. I mean, it's going to be rare to see. And again, as much as I love Notre Dame and Marcus Freeman and the guys in Notre Dame's team, these guys are like, I'm out of here, dude. I'm not getting hurt. I'm gone. It's my own damn team. Once again, the reason why I am a huge Alabama fan, I'm not just saying that because the smartest man in the world is a huge fan. It's shame. I'm saying this because it's honestly how I feel. I am a huge Bama fan.
You like the culture.
love the coach. But I also like the idea, and this is what I've looked at what Kirby Smart has done at Georgia, and only because I was in the situation, you go undefeated one year, it's hard to go undefeated the next year. I unfortunately lost one game the following year, but leading up to that game, man, we played Navy, and you would have thought we were playing Wisconsin. I mean, they were giving us 5,000% instead of the normal 1,000% that they would give when they come to Notre Dame. Now they're playing. I mean, they wanted to take off. They wanted to dethrone the national champion from last year. That shit's hard as hell to do. Flat out, it is hard getting the best that your opponent can offer every week. Every week. So that's why I'm a huge proponent of, man, if you can do that, that's awesome. We had a chance to see that again. We had 1,000 bowl games, kind of talk about, but I'm on my rant. So let's talk about some smaller bowls, and then we can get to talking about the semi
I wanted you to answer this one question. I think this is a great. Once we go to a 12-team playoff, do you think the group of 5 schools could explore their own playoffs, sort of like the FCS teams are doing, and what the NIT did for college basketball?
That's a really good question. The only thing I would say about that would be there's not the type, because the FCS has been doing it forever. I don't think the group of 5 would be able to garner the exposure. So now we're talking about ESPN, ABC, CBS, and all that stuff. I don't think they would be able to get the type of support that they'd want just from a financial standpoint. So I think it's going to be a challenge there. Mm-hmm. And the ADs and the presidents of these schools are going to say, well, if you want us to branch off, we want in because we want part of that pot. We want part of that bucket. Now you're asking us to go out on our own. Yes, we're going to have one sponsor, let's say Home Depot or whoever, but that money isn't going to trickle down to all the rest of the teams. So now we're only going to get a piece of maybe, let's say, $100,000 versus being part of the regular hunt, which now we may get $250,000. We may get $500,000. Having a chance to participate in the final 12.
The cost of traveling and putting these teams and their equipment and flying and staying at a hotel for the week and all that.
Folks don't understand. So this is how it works out. So the bowl committee will obviously pay for the team and those folks that are part of the team, essential staff, right? They're not going to pay for the trainer's wife to go. Okay. Right. However, the school, right? So I'm pretty sure Alabama pays for everybody going, right? But the cheap schools will ask them to kind of pay. But when you look at it, there's a certain amount that the bowl will give you, and then the rest you have to come up with. But you're also on the hook to sell X amount of tickets, right? So let's say the stadium, just for round figures, the stadium holds 100,000. Mm-hmm. So each team has to sell 25,000 tickets. That's 50, and then the bowl, the town of wherever they're in, they'll sell the rest of the 50. Okay, so now you're on a hook. Your school's on a hook for 25,000 tickets. Now, we saw this about 12, 13 years ago when Northern Illinois was in the Orange Bowl and they played Florida State. Okay, so I have Northern Illinois who's in DeKalb, Illinois. For those folks who don't, that's about 45 minutes outside. It's about an hour outside of Chicago, right? So people are like, where the hell is Northern Illinois? But okay, that's fine. Well, they wound up losing money. The president of Northern had to ask the presidents of the other schools in the MAC conference for $100,000 just to help them to go, right? So there's a whole financial aspect of this that a lot of people don't understand because they just think, oh, well, this bowl is this and this bowl is that. And then about maybe a couple of years after that, there was a team, the last time Notre Dame played in Hawaii, it turned out that another team was supposed to play in that bowl game, but that other team couldn't afford to go. So Notre Dame kind of stepped up, raised their hand, and said, "Hey, we'll go." So whatever bowl game, whatever the last time Notre Dame was in the Hawaii Bowl, they went there because they were the only team that could afford to kind of send the team there. So there's a whole bunch of financial aspects behind this that when you kind of talk about kind of taking away bowl games, or you're talking about teams that should be in bowl games or shouldn't be in bowl games, I mean, this conversation happens way before like the last 2 weeks of college football. I mean, this conversation almost happens like halfway through, and then they got a big old whiteboard and they're trying to put what team is going to do what, and if they can afford to kind of be there. So it's really complex.
It's always about the money, right, Chris?
Unfortunately.
That's where it comes back to. And no, that was a good segue of truth and perspective in these
I was going to fast forward to kind of
yeah, go ahead.
Talk about the really big bowls.
Let's talk about the big bowl. Obviously,
the Gator Bowl was the biggest bowl. Well, that was a great
for
segue.
you.
Thank you. Yes, it was. I was a little nervous. We had people that I decided to opt out. And there was a rumor initially that your boy, the quarterback for SC, your favorite guy, South Carolina?
Oh.
Rattler, Spencer Rattler.
Rattler.
Right.
Yeah, Rattler.
He was going to bounce. He was going to jump on the portal. He did not. Unfortunately, his last 2 games were phenomenal. They wound up beating Tennessee, kind of destroying Texas A&M. So they were on the roll. He actually played really good against Notre Dame. There are a couple of plays that he didn't do that great on. But toward the end, I thought Notre Dame was going to lose. I mean, and unfortunately, it's going to be another one of those games for us. But somehow we were able to get back in it. We had a couple of runs that just kind of blew them away. And when you looked at kind of, I don't know if you had a chance to see all the game, but I was excited because in the fourth quarter, you saw a lot of the players from South Carolina. They're putting head on the hips. They're kind of huffing and puffing. And it was so great to kind of see what Coach Freeman and the sport performance staff at Notre Dame did, because our guys are running around, hands are up, our chins are up. We weren't kind of bent over doing this kind of death march. The guys were exhausted. And I think when you put a 235-pound running back in the back there, these guys are going to want to tackle his ass. And then that's what they wound up showing toward the end of the game.
Right. It's very great that Notre Dame, though, to me, played the way they did. And their starting quarterback left. So the young kid had to go in there and show up, and
which after
made it closer than he should have.
Sure. I mean, and here's the thing that's a kicker, right? And this is, I guess I'm just so old school, but so dude throws 2 pick sixes, right? We're talking about Tyler Buckner, and this son bitch gets played a game. Like, dude, like, okay, Grant, he had 300 yards, whatever, but it's like, hold up, brother. I think he threw like 4 touchdowns or something like that. But I'm like, are we counting the 2 that he threw to the other team?
14, 12 points, we'll say.
Are we counting that? But no, I'm happy for him, excited for him. But the one thing that I think Notre Dame has to do this year, so we have a chance to learn a lot, right, about Notre Dame. We have had a chance to understand that, hey, when their offensive line gets tough, when they're ready to play, they can, and they can dominate people. As we had a chance to see, we need a quarterback that could hopefully really kind of have a presence. We have receivers that can catch the ball. We have guys that have length. Mm-hmm. There's a kid that's coming in that was he decommitted from Pitt. However, he's a young kid. He's going to be a freshman. I don't like to put a lot of weight in the hands of freshmen. But now they're talking about that they're going to have a chance to go in the portal and get a quarterback. The one they've talked about a lot was the young man from Wake Forest. Forgot his name. Do you remember his name?
I don't, but Very
I was
solid
just talking
quarterback.
to one of my guys about Hart, like Cam Hart, I think, or something like that. Cameron Hart, I don't know, something like that. But the idea is that if we can get him, then maybe we have a chance to kind of win those games that we were very close in. Now you're talking
Sam
about
Hartman.
yes,
Sam
okay,
Hartman.
I was close. Maybe I wasn't close, but
Bullets.
Thank you very much.
Nino Brown. I don't know if that is Bullets. Is it? Is
So
a new name?
the idea would be though
Bullets.
is that if we have somebody like that who's that experienced, who kicked ass in the ACC, then maybe he can get us above those teams that we want to lose them to. Like you want to think about your Ohio States. I mean, is this going to put us in the Final Four? I would hope so, but I think we're maybe 2 years away from that. When I looked at the semifinals 2 days ago, I don't think Notre Dame belonged in that Final Four. I mean, I'm sorry, much as I love Notre Dame,
Right.
they absolutely did not belong in there. Now, my current question is: we just make this kind of slide transition into the
final two.
Fiesta Bowl, if you want.
Real quick though, how much?
Yes.
Because people will want to know. MVP of the game, how much stock or ground does he have standing to be the quarterback next year? Do you open up a competition in the spring? Is this kid a part of the future of Notre Dame, the quarterback there?
Well, so what we've heard was, and this I don't have any inside knowledge. I'm not calling Marcus on the phone going, "Hey man, what's quarterback situation?" But after the season ended, they went into the quarterback room and said, "Hey, we're going to jump in the portal."
Okay, so they were up front.
Which is when you saw Drew Payne bounce, and now he's Tyler Buchner made the decision that he was going to stay. Now, did he make that decision because there was no tape on him? Who knows, right? So he played the first game, got injured, had a chance to rehab. Now maybe he can use this MVP of the Gator Bowl. Telling folks, hey, you know what? I can play, but here's the thing. As I mentioned before, you got this freshman coming in that decommitted. So now the idea is, and then you're going to jump in the portal and get Sam Hartman. So you bring Sam Hartman in there. So now you have a chance for Buchner to learn from a champion, and you've had a chance for this new kid, who's a freshman coming in as well. So should he leave? I'm all about competition, and no, you want to be the best. You got to try to beat out the best. So I wouldn't suggest that he transfer, but for him, he may want to. But now at least he has the tape and say that, hey, you know what? I was the MVP of the Gator Bowl, even though I threw 2 pick sixes, which I don't understand.
Well, I hope. Good for Buchner. I want to see that. Hopefully he stays there and proves, just like your boy Stetson Bennett, who has had to prove himself time and time again.
My boy, who came when he come in 4th in the Heisman, 3rd or something like that, 15th.
I don't know. What did he come in the Heisman? I know he got your vote for the Heisman.
Yeah, damn. Well, first of all, I wish I had a vote. That's the one vote that I did not get, but. Because my boy
Minchie is the freshman quarterback that you're talking about.
Yes. Yep. I had a chance to meet him, met his parents, great kid. Yep. But we had a chance to see there was another great kid who actually bounced from Notre Dame and went to Colorado to be part of Deion's crew. So, we say these kids are great Notre Dame kids, but, in reality, maybe not. Maybe he's chasing something else, but that's neither here or there. However, I do want to talk about TCU and Michigan.
TCU and Michigan.
What the hell to the hell to the hell? Please tell me what happened. My ass is like, TCU does not belong at all. Told all my friends Michigan was going to beat the crap out of them, especially with this great offensive line. Draft Dr. Phil, please tell me what happened.
The football is always rooted in do what you do, not what they do. Do what you do. And I think they got caught in it. Now there was some serious questionable refereeing situations that
Correct.
I cannot overlook that because that's just who I am. Now, even if I was cheering for TCU, which I wasn't, I'll preface it with that. Spotting of the football, me and my father were talking. My dad's like, hey, as the Michigan came back to try to win after giving two pick six.
Right.
2 pick six, but the blunders in coaching, I think, are going to bother Jim for the rest of his life. Like when you got down, first of all, the back that breaks the first run out the gate, number 7, I don't know why, I just forgot his name. He's running and he's gone, and he runs into the angle instead of going to the pylon. And I go, oh my God. Like that would be the home run. That sets the tone. It's almost Chicago Bear-esque that he runs into the angle and then they tackle him and then they're driving down and then they do a gimmick play. And I text you. I'm like, what the? Everybody texts me. What did Matt Nagy take over? And I'm like, I just can't believe Harbaugh did this. Like you're trying to run the Philly special here. What do you do? I just couldn't believe it. So then you stop there. Then, just getting away from running the ball and doing some of these things, the pick six, everything that could go wrong went wrong for Michigan. Right. So I will say the haters are going to hate whatever, but watching that game, Jim reeled it in. The team reeled it in, and they fought back hard to try to win that game. And I felt like that touchdown pass where the kid, I put it out on video on my reel because I'm like, this is ridiculous. That was a touchdown. It was called a touchdown. The guy, the official in the booth is like, yeah, that's a touchdown.
Right.
These clowns, I'm thinking it's a layup, come out and no. I'm like, what? I'm like, he falls on the ground without possession. His knee hits the ground.
Right.
The ball bobbles out. He turns, catches the ball, and he's clearly across the goal line. And it should be a touchdown. Now, but Phil, you can't fumble the ball. I know. But these things just, I don't know if it's God laughing. Like, this is what we do. Make the drama of college football and football that you fumble the ball the very next play and it's a 14-point swing now in the game. And you had several of those that you're going backwards, fighting to recap. It was a great game. But I think Jim did some coaching situational blunders that I will say I would never expect him to fall under. And it just goes to show you like how important coaching is and situations and what you needed to do. And TCU, hats off to them. That kid.
And at the end of the day, I mean, we're obviously Michigan fans, and we're talking about how TCU doesn't belong. And I mean, and I said that before, but at the end of the day, you have to give it to TCU as well, right?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, those are the guys that came up with the pick sixes. They wound up stopping them winning the game. But it's hard for me because out of all the Power 5 teams, I mean, the Big 12 has always been a joke because they don't play defense. And the scores in their league are like 56, like 62.
This game was no different. It was
like, what the hell?
I want to say one other thing, and I'm sorry. The refs again played is it going to make the game different? You don't know. But that was targeting. It's textbook targeting.
You went and
that was
like the last.
Yeah, you had the presence of mind to call it up for that ref, and it just leaves you with that. Is there some shady stuff going on here? Because that's the definite. Dude lowers his helmet, crowns him like he's a freaking billy goat, and that's got to be called. And then you got 25, 26 seconds to go. TCU, stop them now. You made that error. But you're saying, well, the game's over. We don't want to punish this kid. No, the rule is there for that reason. I don't like the rule, neither do you.
Mm-hmm.
But in that case, that needed to be called,
right,
so you can stabilize that rule
sure.
being important. It can't be, oh, Hail Mary, Bear, everybody's running down. We could push everybody out of the way. We're not going to call interference. No, you got to call it. If I'm about to catch the ball and I get pushed, well, it's the last play. Everything goes. I hate that kind of. That's not a football person that says that stuff.
Here's the hard part, Phil. And this is something that, as the union, we fought for a long time. They finally did it in the NFL. I mean, these guys are part-time refs. They have jobs.
Right.
And that's the hard part is, you're being supervised or you're being monitored by, and you're talking about, in some cases, these are multi-million-dollar opportunities here.
Right.
That are being made by, like, the family accountant or, like,
the pediatrician,
the dentist down the street, and you're like,
the
wow.
lawyer. He's retired. He's a retired judge.
He's
got a bone to pick with Michigan. That stuff happens. It's human nature. Though,
but right, and so then it's like, well, and again, I know, like, the rest of the NFL now are, but the idea would be to get some professionals out there, right? To get people. Let's review all the stuff that happens all the time, and in college they have the refs come in and kind of give you like a ref 101, kind of explain all the new rules and things like that, and that's great, but when in some cases, some coaches' livelihoods depend on someone who is doing this, less than 25 hours a week, he's making or she's making a decision. Is that fair?
Yeah, I agree. I think it should be a paid position where you're held accountable to a standard.
Absolutely, full-time, exactly. And you have enough cameras now.
Exactly.
And it's okay if you get overruled.
Right. But you can't let your pride get in the way of the right call. That's all I ever want in football. And I don't recall many that I've been on the right and I got away with one there. It seems like I'm always on the other end, as a fan, as a coach, as a player. I'm always getting this wrong end of the stick.
Right.
And I didn't like how that game ended. Again, hats off to TCU.
Sure.
And their quarterback. Talk
about a great story. He went into the start or the beginning of the year. I think he came in second or third in the Heisman, and he's about to play for the national championship. Like, what?
Yeah. And his toughness. Talk about a guy. These are the intangibles that, I laugh at some people like, oh, he's a third-round pick. Like, there's certain measurements. I always use Tom Brady, but you can talk about Kurt Warner. Was undrafted, right?
Exactly.
There's intangibles about players. Duggan has a lot of intangibles that you're just trying to find in a football player going on to the next level. He is a piece of that. Here in Chicago, he'd be a perfect kind of guy that sits behind Justin Fields and is ready at a moment's notice to come in there and run the offense and will some toughness. You know what I'm talking about. But I hats off to them. I'm excited. And their defense, oh my God, 14.
Yeah.
What a football player this kid is. He's just instinctively and aggressively putting himself in the right places to. You always talk about your former teammate, Pat Terrell, and being in the right place and living off. I mean, if TCU goes out and upsets Georgia now, that kid is a huge reason for.
Okay, now if that happens, then I will turn in my college football playoff card or my college football.
You need to do a whole rant.
Yes, I would. But so let's kind of make a good segue into the other game that was played, which was Georgia against Ohio State. Oh my God.
What a game.
I mean, once again, great game for those college football fans. I'm not a huge Ohio State fan, but I love me some Georgia, but it was an amazing game. CJ Stroud, great quarterback. He's going to do great. My boy Stetson Bennett came there once again, sat there and balled, and for the idea that it was left on the shoulders of this kicker. So I have a buddy who's a kicker, Keith Jones. He kicked in college, and that's the first. I sent him a text. It's like, dude, what happened? But I feel sorry for the kid. I'm sure he's gonna get death threats and everything else because Ohio State fans are crazy. But the idea that they would kind of blame him for that is just and I'm sorry, but I mean, yes, that's his job. And people say, "Oh, you got one job to do." First of all, do you out there and kick that ball? But that's outside the point. Let's talk about all the drop passes. Let's talk about the TFLs. Let's talk about the sacks. I mean, so for people to blame, which we do as fans, we'll blame him on not winning that game is just unfair.
Yeah, it was crazy as Cherie put it up there. In my house, I've been watching this game all night. And my wife's like, all right, it's almost midnight. Change it to Ryan Seacrest. I want to watch the ball. I'm like, the ball drop? Now, I kid you not. I'm sitting there in the fourth quarter as it starts. I go watch to my friend who was Bobby was over the house with his kids celebrating New Year's Eve. And I go to him, watch. This game's going to come down to the kick as the goddamn ball, because I've told Steph, I go, it'll be over like 11:30. We'll be good.
Right.
It's ball drop, kick flop is what it literally on the East Coast is 10, 9. He's lining up for the kick. My son Tate is streaming it on his tablet. I go, and she got me to go to the stream of the ball drop, and it's 37 seconds because the stream is behind.
Right.
So I'm like, back to the game. And Tate's there. 8,
my God, that's
7.
hilarious.
I'm back to the game, and I just see the tail.
Oh my God.
And I go, he missed it. Oh, it was great here.
Which is the reason why you should just go in the garage and put up like 4 TVs.
I know.
See? You wouldn't have that problem.
I didn't want to be rude and leave everybody, but I was like, oh my God. You guys were all in the sunroom watching something. Now you're here. You want me to change it. I'm committed for this game. Steph laughs. There is breaking news. Damar Hamlin, Buffalo. I guess he's having CPR on the field.
Oh my God.
On Monday Night Football tonight. So prayers up to him.
Wow.
I don't know what's going on there.
See, and this is the part that a lot of people, I mean, for everybody, I mean, this is excitement, this is entertainment, this is fun, but oftentimes we don't realize that, the play, literally every play that you play out there could be your last, right?
Oh my God.
And we see a lot of kids that may have the unfortunate situation of getting injured permanently, and then you see something like this happens with something that's really serious. So it's a rough sport, man.
Yeah. I don't even know how to come off of that. It's just I'm not watching the game. I guess the ambulance is on the field now. Shane is updating us, but it's
Well, I
not good.
remember last year they showed this was with I think it was Tulane. There was a kid last year, I forgot what game it was, but no, it was several years ago, wound up getting paralyzed from a hit, but then they were doing CPR on the field when it happened,
Yeah,
so
they're
it's just,
doing that now, he said.
you just kind of hate to see that happen.
Prayers up for him, honestly. That's, my wife, my mother-in-law is not a football person. My mother-in-law thinks I'm a terrible dad because I've made my son love the Bears. She thinks I made him love football. I have never in my life, Chris, seen a kid come out of the womb smiling like he did.
Oh my God.
And then he just like took to the football like me and my wife couldn't believe it. And half the time on the shows here, you can hear him stomping around because he's just jumping from one end of the couch to the other, pretending to dive over the pile.
Wow.
And he just loves the game of football. And then you worry about your kids playing this game.
Absolutely.
Each and every, I didn't have a fear in me when I was playing.
Mm-hmm.
When I got like 5 concussions, then I started. Actually, I really didn't. The concussions didn't scare me. It was my shoulder injury that started to like worry me. Like, am I going to get another? Because who likes to get your shoulder separated? And you start thinking about, is it going to pop out? But it's a physical game. It's a collision sport. It's not a contact sport.
Well, and at the end of the day, I mean, people weren't supposed to. I mean, we weren't created to play football, right? I mean, it's like it's a gladiator sport at the end of the day,
right?
And people are getting bigger and bigger, faster and faster. And I think Mike Ditka said this maybe about 5-7 years ago, that to solve this concussion problem, just take off the helmets.
My father said the same thing. He remembers playing with the leather. Just the leather top. Wow. And my kids were playing, flag this year, and they make them wear these, and they look like the back in the day
right
players. It's so cute to see them. And but yeah, you ain't putting your head in there to
when there's no protection.
Yeah. I mean, you'll have some hits, but it just takes you in a different direction thinking about that. Yeah, God, prayers to his family. Bob is saying even Adam Schefter looks shaken up. I think anybody. Cherie said he got stood up and then he just collapsed.
Oh my God.
So, back in the day, I just remember the Patriots player, safety. He ended up getting paralyzed. What was his name?
You talk about Daryl Stingley?
Stingley, yeah. So he was coming through and came in, and that was a collision.
Right.
I've been in some collisions where you can hear the echo of the audience's ooh.
Sure.
Unfortunately, I'm on the wrong end of those collisions a lot, but I just remember being a football player coming over the middle. You're 5'7", 175 pounds. You get the safety coming at you on a freaking skinny post. I catch the ball. I always remember my dad saying, "You're going to get hit either way. Better off." And that always stood with me, and that's, it is a gladiator sport. I always say this to, the World Cup people and all that stuff. The thing that's great about football, we'll turn it into a positive, is the fact that it is a collision sport. It is amazing game, but the brotherhood of the ultimate team sport is, even my wife is texting me now, this Bills injury. So she ain't watching football. I could tell you. So
Right.
she's heard about it.
Right.
It's very scary. He's on oxygen, taking him off. So yeah, she's gonna be happy about her son's play.
Well, of course.
But my point is, we live in a country. I just watched the Avatar for 3 hours and was just mesmerized, right? Just amazing. Like, football is the pride. It used to be baseball, right? America's game is now football, right? We're the ultimate entertainment. Love us, hate us, whatever. We're the envy of all the other countries. Movies, show business, Broadway, music, hip-hop music is traveling into Korea now. They're rapping in Korean. They're rapping in French. Guess where it was born? Here. Rock and roll down the line, right? This is the center of whatever God chose of entertainment. Football is the most entertaining, right? Soccer is just a ball, and anybody can play it. That's what makes it so affordable, right? You can play it
and appealing, right? Because people, I mean, everybody can play the game.
Exactly. So I always say that, like, when Claudio, Mbappe, put him, he'll be a elite running back if he wouldn't. He'd take one hit, and Mbappe would be okay. I'll make $200 million.
Well, and we've seen the how great actors are on the. Whoa!
Oh, they canceled the game.
Oh my gosh!
Wow.
Okay, that's beyond serious.
That's beyond serious. Holy shit! They're temporarily.
Oh, okay.
That's tough, Chris, because now you have to go into the locker room, try to recompose yourself, your teammate, and the scene. And as a player, I've been in this situation before.
Oh, really?
My boy Dante Gilliam at Hofstra. We were playing against who were we playing? Towson State, I believe, on special teams. Kickoff. He was in front man on kickoff. He rounded around, turned, and the Towson State guy is running, and he hit him a shot right under the chin on his face mask. I mean, he went into the air on his back, and he was knocked out cold. Jeez. The stadium went silent.
Jesus.
And now you're watching the ambulance. They're doing CPR.
Oh, my God.
There is a very, very mental fear now. Even as I was standing there, you're like, could that be me?
Right.
You know, it's natural.
Absolutely.
You have to get out of. How do you turn around and play this game now? It's very difficult. Very difficult. But anyway. It's hard to get back to the game.
No, it is. And we could actually just close on talking about the last game, which is going to be the
Georgia, Ohio State.
Well,
Georgia victorious. There was a targeting call in that game too. But that wasn't called. That was looked at. I thought it was definitely targeting as well. And they kind of did the same thing, and they went away from it. That went against Ohio State. So I just don't like that. But here we are, set up for the national championship. The Georgia Bulldogs versus TCU, the team that Chris Zorich had no shot winning the game. No shot. He's taking a statement from the great David Kaplan. No shot. Here we are. But before we get into that, I want to ask you about a guy. He was your agent, and there's a lot of smoke around Warren.
Kevin Warren,
Kevin
Warren. The current
we were talking early in the show about getting a president for the Chicago Bears. His name is being taught. He's the Big Ten commissioner now.
Currently, yes.
He also has some ties, because a lot of Bears fans don't know, he already has been in the NFL. So is he checking some of those boxes? His first client, ladies and gentlemen, is right here. Chris Zorich. He was your agent to begin, right?
Right. So I was coming out of Notre Dame, and he was at the law school at Notre Dame. And, we just started talking, and the way he approached the whole idea of kind of being an agent was kind of education beyond the sport and everything else. And so obviously hooked up with him, and he did my first contract, my second contract.
Wow.
And he bounced really from being an agent, kind of working with athletes, over to the other side. And I want to say became like the VP at the Rams, I think, and wound up winning a Super Bowl with them. And at the time, who was the head coach for the Rams? Who like
Martz?
Yeah.
Mike
No. Was it Mark?
Was it the other dude before him, the former Eagles coach? The heck's his name? And he always cried.
Yeah, that guy. Vermeil, Dick Vermeil.
Dick Vermeil.
Right? Okay, yeah.
Dick Vermeil.
So he actually had a quote that said that if Kevin Warren wasn't with this organization, we wouldn't have won the Super Bowl. So that's kind of how respected he was.
Dick Vermeil,
at least on his team.
Sam Rutigliano talks about shoe salesmen versus great coaches.
Okay.
Obviously, he always talks about Nick Saban, who Sam is involved with a lot, and Bill Belichick, Parcells. He has a lot of respect. Every coach he's talked about kind of has proven a lot to me. And then the shoe salesman, I'll leave out of this, but he has always said Dick Vermeil is a great, just a great coach, teacher, and knows how to be himself while still motivating. So
that's awesome.
What could be determined as emotion, and I can't even say this because people will break my balls on it. So, but he really had a lot of respect for Dick Vermeil, and if Dick Vermeil is praising Kevin like that,
sure, yep. And then after the Rams, I think he went to Detroit for a minute. Was a VP under who's the former football player?
Oh, Millen. Matt Millen.
Yep. He was there for a minute.
Penn State.
Yes. And then from there went to the Vikings, where he spent most of his career, but went from kind of a VP there up to the chief operating officer, I believe, and literally was instrumental in like building the whole new the US Bank Stadium that they have.
Oh wow!
Like that was kind of his responsibility.
I think that.
So I'm sure, but again, so now you're talking about somebody that has football knowledge. If you're going back to, if this does happen, that's somebody who they should obviously look at. But again, it's somebody that has that knowledge. But again, he's not kind of this up and coming. Hey, right, I'm an administrator, right? I mean, they're gonna have to pay top dollar for this dude.
Hey, I just used to administer the. Yeah, let's bring you in for an interview. Maybe, can I ask you how he was with you?
Oh, it's phenomenal. I mean, just a great family
that's
guy.
A huge endorsement then.
Well, God, yeah. I mean, he is. I mean, he was a mentor for me for such long, and even to this day. I mean, I can call him, when I want some advice or something like that. But the idea of what he's accomplished in such a short period of time. And now you realize, I mean, he went from being an agent to like being on the other side.
Right.
Oftentimes people don't do that. Right.
That's a great point. That's a check, a giant check for me in his box to know both sides, because you have to give and take when you're at that position.
No, absolutely.
And he seems, especially if you're giving him endorsement, that you're going to sit here and say, hey, this guy is the real deal and is a great guy. And then Dick Vermeil is going to endorse him and say those things, as well as have the experience of what they did in Minnesota, building a new stadium, right? And what we've dealt with here. He's already 60 times more prepared than Ted Phillips is.
again, but now it becomes a question if this
Does
is
he
a viable
want the
candidate.
job?
Well, I mean, he obviously interviewed, so I mean that says something. But did he like what he heard in the meeting? Right.
Let me ask you this: would he ever come into a situation and not have the right of this GM, this coach? They're no good.
Well, I think that's the hard part, right? Because I mean, you think about the responsibilities that a regular president would have at an organization, and now does that fall in line with what the Bears want their president to do?
Right.
Right. And so, I mean, if it was me, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Well, and I haven't talked to him about this. I'm not going to pretend like I know like what he's thinking. But if it was me, I mean, that's something that I would want, right? I mean, you want that full control. Look, exactly. I have over 30 years of experience, 25 years of experience in the NFL. I obviously know what the hell I'm doing, and I could run an organization. And so if I don't have full control, then I could look elsewhere. I could stay at the Big Ten. I mean, that would be the idea going into it. And if he had full control, then I'm sure he's going to listen.
Warren Shane says, Cherie, you could put it up. That makes $7 million per year as the Big Ten commissioner. Bears gonna have to pony up and pay him. Chris is gonna be.
It was actually $5, but that's
Shane wasn't.
I'm sorry, saying it's not right. Okay, gotcha.
Shane really wasn't here for early discussions where you and I both agreed that the Bears have refused to pony up and find the veteran coach, the Sean Payton.
Well, at least somebody with experience. It's not they don't have to be a 30-year veteran, but do you want to be the experimental organization for the last 30?
You can't look at what the Steelers got in Mike Tomlin and say, okay, maybe we're going to roll the dice and get that too.
Because you've been doing it for how long?
Right.
That's the thing, right?
You continue to do that same thing. That's where the red flags are. But for me, this position of president, and I said it before, I had two candidates. One of them, people either love him or hate him. I feel as though he would be tremendous because he understands where all the cobwebs are at Hallis Hall. He understands what it takes to win. He understands he's a underrated businessman. People don't know that about Olin Kreutz, and he owns a lot of properties. He owns his own business. But the football end of it, of finding and identifying who's a fraud, who's stepping in here, knows what they're doing, or is going to be able to leave it. So that obviously he's never going to get hired because of McCaskey and what George said about him. Right. Take with a grain of salt. The other guy was, just a recognition of what I was told from my guy, Jim Larison, and other people is, the guy they named the number 46, not number 40, 45.
Gary Fensick.
Gary Fensick. Okay. He was the other guy that I felt like knows where the cobwebs are, knows the game, very well educated, is just great in business. And he would be another guy that would put football first. Both of those guys, right? David Warren put football first. That you are giving every Bears fan a little, without even talking to him. Mm-hmm. And I applaud you. I appreciate it because I didn't even think we were going to talk about this, but with everything that's going on.
I throw another name in there, and that would be Trace Armstrong.
He obviously, the rumor came out that he was interviewed about something. And that was way back when they were talking about coaches, but it seemed to be because he's the agent to some of the coaches, including, I think, Matt Nagy at the time.
Yeah.
There's my cat.
That's awesome. And I think he was, I want to say it was Brian Kelly's agent, and also I I think the guy who left, maybe LSU or somebody, it was something crazy where he had both guys. But I mean, he has experience. He was the president of the union.
Yes.
I mean, this guy. I mean, he
former
knows,
Bear himself would know
exactly. I mean, knows football.
You played with him.
I did.
So you have connections to two. That's another guy. There you go. 3 guys, and now you have Warren. Your word on it. Obviously, I'm not going to lie to anybody. I did text Chris when the tweet came out just to pick his brain on the guy a little bit because I don't really know anything about him. But tonight kind of was the first time we really talk with all the family and the sickness and everything. So to get a little behind the scenes of who this man is and his experience gets me excited because I need to know. Like, I've seen some things I don't like about Ryan Poles, but he doesn't need to be fired, in my opinion. There's certain things politically. I don't like when politics are reported, but are put in front of, like, oh, let's play the guys I drafted, like the 5th round, Braxton Jones. Let's do this and not that.
Mm-hmm.
If you're just tuning in, yes, we have talked about Hamlin being injured. We even talked about the game and how physical it is and everything of that nature. Prayers go out to him and his family. They're reporting Hamlin as a pulse, but he's not breathing on his own, which is a scary situation.
Jesus.
So that's where we are. We're also talking about the possibility of, obviously, George McCaskey and the board of directors at Chicago Bears, Ted Phillips, finally moving from accountant. Oh, you're our family accountant. Maybe you could run our football team for us. Moving on. It's like the weatherman that always gets the weather wrong. He still has his job. That's Ted Phillips. I said, listen, he might be the nicest guy. He's just not the president of the Chicago Bears. I don't care if he's great at brunch after church.
Hey man. But this is what they do. I mean, so this should not be a surprise when you hear about this stuff. I mean, the idea that, and again, I'm almost like a broken record, but I mean, you go out and get people that are on the up.
This is a guy that's on the up. This is a guy that's done it before. And to Shane's point, Chris, $7 million he's making from the Big Ten. Okay, we're the Chicago Bears. We're already reported $5 billion, 5 point something by Forbes. You and I know that when they get their own stadium, they're going to be upwards of $14 billion. They're going to be worth the most.
Sure.
So if you can pay Julius
which I think
Peppers,
would make him so attractive because
right.
I mean, he has this built-in experience of building what you're trying to build.
Exactly.
And
I saw some of the early drawings. Did you?
No.
They someone tweeted it out or something. I don't even know if it's true, but they're already, to me, doing it wrong. They're setting the stadium over there in a park, and you got a cross, and they have like a village of stores and what. No, let's put some tailgating in there. That Bears first. Bears first.
Well,
go over to New England. Look at how they've done it. The stadium is there. It's Patriot Fans Park, right? And then everything is off of that. So the experience is to the right.
Crazy here locally, because locally the people in Arlington Heights have already said that they don't. I think they voted, and said that none of the money or none of the tax breaks that they would get would go toward the actual stadium versus other parts around the stadium. So this is crazy. I mean, in drawings can be kind of rearranging everything, but the idea would be, are you going to get a football person?
And
we just named 3 people that have that or check that box. But the hope is, which again we haven't seen, would be that are you going to go that route, or are you going to get some guy who is up and coming, and he was the ticket manager for the Bulls or something.
Buccaneers. Hold on, this guy was a really good friend of Jed York. I don't even know who Jed York is, but I know it's a Chicago name, right?
Well, I wouldn't be surprised. Let's just say that, right? Because of what we've seen, and I'm sure the board is going to have a much larger say than in the past, and hopefully they can say, what, let's make this a real hire, and not try to find somebody who's we hope is going to do good for us.
Bro, last point. This is what I pray, first and foremost for the family of Hamlin. Football, I don't know how they'll go play I don't know what quarter they're in or where they are in the game. I don't know how they're going to handle this, and it'll be criticized and critiqued no matter what they do. But prayers to his family and all of them from TTNL. Send the positive energy there. Back to this conversation. My final point. 2 points, actually. You could pay Khalil Mack, Jay Cutler, anybody, millions of dollars guaranteed. 52 million guaranteed to Khalil Mack, or whatever it was. The president of the Chicago Bears, if he's making you don't 15 million. What do you care? Get it right. Get the guy that you believe is going to be the sole proprietor of putting football and the Chicago Bears into the next century, and understanding that importance of it. Finding the right people and getting rid of. Let's see if this guy Nagy can do it. Andy Reid tells me he's good. He must be. The good old boy network, and get rid of all that. Get a guy that says, let me ask you a question. What do you think of Justin Fields? And then you go from there and you get the real answer and you go forward with it. Because right now, the Chicago Bears, whether you want to believe that they're going to turn this around or can't believe they're going to turn this around, this is a huge, huge moment.
Absolutely. I mean, it's going to make or break the opportunity, tonight.
Don't skimp on the president's. Don't. All I could say to you, George, is stay owner. You're just a fan. Stay that. Embrace that quote that'll never die on TTNL. And when you're hiring a president, he has to be the opposite of that. That he isn't a fan. He's an understander. He's a chief, a professor of football. And the people that are going to put you in the right places, find the right people. If it's a young head coaching candidate or an old wily veteran, you don't hire the guy that's ready to go to Hawaii. He's collecting a check. So don't skimp. I'm excited to see how this plays out, Chris. And then finally, we'll be back next week.
Yes, we will.
We're going to be live, a little pregame.
So the game is at 7:30 Eastern, National Championship game next Monday, the 9th.
Yep.
And we'll be on at 6:30 Eastern, 5:30 Central.
Correct.
And the last part, give me a prediction.
Let's predict this game going out here tonight. Obviously, appreciate all you fans checking in. Walter the Cat.
Absolutely. And giving us updates, too. This is great.
Yeah, giving us updates. The smartest man, Cherie, HL, Bullets showed himself. El Nino. Jamal Lewis telling me it's still in the first. I don't know if he means first quarter or first half. First quarter. If I was the commissioner, I would cancel the game based on this severity of this situation.
Hold on. So just from, and I think I may have talked to you about this before, as a union rep, and this is the game that, again, we talked about this with, we were playing Green Bay. It was on Monday night. They were honoring Dick Butkus, and it was raining like sideways. Mm-hmm. And I forgot who the player rep was for Green Bay, but we were huddled in the office with.
I remember this.
This is right before the game, and we were like flat out.
Tagliabue.
Yes, it was Paul Tagliabue. We were like flat out. This game needs to be canceled. This is the safety of the players, and literally everybody like looked at us like, First of all, who the hell are y'all? Why are you in this? I mean, kind of being facetious. Yeah. What are you talking about? I mean, so. It would take, like, literally, and I don't want to make light of what happened, but, I mean, you have to move mountains in order to cancel an NFL game. So just to kind of give you that type of reference.
No, my wife wanted to know what you thought.
So well, again, I mean, it was as a player, right?
She's like, they have to cancel the game, right?
Right.
And Chris is saying no.
You mentioned your experience. On how the players feel. Now, I'm not even talking about like the opposing player. I'm talking about your buddy who you share a locker with. You know, who your roommate, who you room with on the road. Like he might, something serious might be going on. So that's the hard part, right? But the reality, the flip side of that is, and this. So what I think in a crisis management situation, you should. That you open up
Chris,
when something like this happens.
Your internet clucked out right when you were saying that part. Say it again.
Sorry. So I'm kind of getting excited, but when you have a crisis like this, you should have an envelope. Well, you should have several envelopes. And it should be kind of a disaster. It should be like rain, tornado, whatever. And there should be an envelope for a situation like this. Like what have we done? We've done research. We've been in situations like this. We've talked to crisis management folks. This is what needs to happen, step by step, right? So we know that Roger Goodell isn't at the game. I mean, he may be, I don't know, but everybody knows that there's an envelope that we need to open. There's a certain protocol we need to observe when something like this goes down, or God forbid that there's a terrorist act going on at a stadium, right? Boom! Open up the file, break it down. This is exactly what happens, and then, and again, look, I'm a former player. I'm not that smart.
No,
but
that's a great.
When you're in situations like this, then if the company, and I mean, $1 billion companies do this, so why shouldn't the NFL, right?
Right.
I mean, you need to protect the brand, and then this goes way back, and you're not old enough for this, but this goes way back to the Tylenol murders here in Chicago, where a bunch of folks died because somebody put, I believe it was cyanide, in the packages of Tylenol. Well, that became a whole thing where now we see like super sealed tight stuff. All that stuff came from that situation. And so what Tylenol did, and you can look this up, Tylenol got in front of it and said, hey, you know what? We're going to find out what's going on. In the meantime, we're going to pull all of our product off the shelf. And then when they came back on, they had the super connected combination thing that take you 20 minutes to get off. But that kind of changed the whole industry. And I say that to say that we should be prepared in situations like this. So as an athletic director, I had files that had situations like this go down. If there was a shooting at the school, if someone unfortunately passed away, if the kid's parent was at the school, something happened. I mean, you have to think about these in order to get ahead of it, and then you won't have all this confusion and craziness when the situation happens.
You're getting an education tonight, despite him trying to put himself down. I can speak very highly of Chris Zorich. If you're just tuning in, we've talked about all the bowl games. Next week we'll be live breaking down the Bulls. You're going to want to listen to this show. I know it's a tough night talking about what is going down in Buffalo, or is it in Cincinnati? I don't know off the top of my head. I wasn't even planning on watching that game, but prayers up to the Hamlin family. Apparently his mother was in the stands. So it is in Cincinnati, Cherie said. So prayers up to them and the players. You know, it's beyond $1 billion business. The NFL and football is going in the trillions now. And now with the YouTube television carrying the Sunday ticket and so much more that's going to be going down, it's only going to get even bigger. So you hate to see this tarnished, or the sport tarnished in a certain way. To your point, which I think is so great, is got to have a proactive plan versus a reactive one. And that comes with how you handle a snowstorm and how you handle this situation.
Right.
So,
right. And just lastly from on my end, I mean, they care about this stuff, right? So I was on the committee once where they talked about how in NFL stadiums, when a ref is trying to make a call or he's taking time to make a call, the PA announcers or the organist or whatever, they weren't allowed, or the DJ at some places, they weren't allowed to play the theme of Jeopardy because people felt that it would look bad on the brand. So, no, hey man, I'm sitting there going, wait a minute, we care about this shit? Like, are you serious? Like, people, they're like, absolutely. So, they really care about the brand.
This is going to be a testament to what it is they're going to do here with with the NFL. We're going to watch it. We're also going to be back next week. Check out the show if you're just tuning in. Love you guys. Obviously,
give me your prediction, bro. Come on, man.
Oh, my prediction.
Yes.
No, Georgia.
Besides Payne.
Georgia, 38, TCU 21.
Interesting.
38-21.
I'm going to write that down.
Go ahead. And
like
remind me what it was before the show.
I was right. I'm terrible.
A lot of injuries. A lot of head injuries. What about you? Where are you going? I know you're going to the SEC.
I'm obviously going to Georgia.
Georgia.
And I want to say they're going to open up a can of whip ass. I'm saying maybe like 40-14.
40-14.
Let me write mine down.
Write it down. So I said 38-21.
Yes.
You're 40-14. So we're almost in the same place there.
Yes. Well, we saw today, we saw LSU just pound Purdue 62-7. So.
Oh my God. Poor Purdue.
Yes.
Anyway, we'll be back next week for the great, the legend, the man, the myth, the legend, Chris Zorich.
And Draft Dr. Phil, somebody sent me a message.
Really?
And said that, I love your show. However, you need to talk to the guy, the other guy that's on the show. I was like, oh, Phil. He was like, the other guy, he needs to say who he is. Because, like, I don't, like, I wouldn't know. It's like the name is your show, but you need to pump his name up.
Well, yes. Draft Dr. Phil Atoshin. There you go.
We should have the next show for the National Championship game. You should have a byline as well.
Let's get Ron G.
Yes.
Right here, we got the 3-time All-American, CBS Defensive Player of the Year, the national champion, College Football Hall of Famer, Walter Camp, 2-time All-American with Walter Camp, I believe, as well as All Madden.
There we go. That's the one we have to
add that one in there, Ronnie G.
There we go.
All Madden, Chris Zorich for the great Lady Bear 83. Follow her on Twitter.
Hey.
And myself, Draft Dr. Phil Atosha from the Tape Never Lies Network. Go over there.
There we
Follow
go.
the channel. Follow all of it. We'll be back next week. Can't wait to break it all down for you guys. We'll see you next week. God bless you. Prayers up. All the best.
Thanks for watching the Super 16 Poll Show with Chris Zorich. Like, subscribe, and comment. This has been a special presentation of the Tape Never Lies Network. Performance over